Okay. So let me start up X-Plane here. First of all, let me make sure everything is working the way I think it should. Yep. Looks like we're pretty good. So, we start flight. Ooh, that ain't looking good. I'm using a valve index, and I'm looking at one of my touch controllers that is kind of low in power. So we'll see how this goes. I know what I want to do. So, alrighty. So we're basically in the so let me. So basically, we're in basically the Steam VR home, and I'm just getting X-Plane started up, and I'm gonna make this window a little bit bigger, so it's a little more. Let's see, the settings larger. I'll make this a little bit bigger. So basically, this is my desktop, and we have. Don't connect, please. So let me get rid of this guy right now. So we basically have X-Plane setting here, and this is like my whole desktop. So and we're in 2D mode right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into VR. So as you see, when we are right now, X-Plane doesn't think that I'm in VR right now, even though I clearly am. So when you look at the joystick, my touch controllers that are definitely here, they're not available. So I'm going to go over here, click on headings. I already have the mouse cursor enabled, and I'm going to say I want to go into VR. So we go into VR. And now we're in the holodeck. So there's something that's going a little bit wrong right now. Because yeah, okay. So that's correct. Give me just a second. So we're in the. I was a little lost. I am sorry. Okay, so I'll put this thing out of the way. So now that we're in the holodeck, if I come up here and click on joysticks, you can see, and if I click on the, I just squeeze my my touch controller, so that's going to bring this right in front of me. You will see that the it did actually find the valve index, and I haven't got into the cockpit. Some of the problems that people are experiencing is that they have a new VR headset, and for some reason their buttons aren't working. So I'm going to basically kind of go through the procedures you would have to use to try to resolve that problem. As you see, mine found my valve index controller. It found that. So, and here it says reset default values to valve index controller, and so that's all working. And so we'll say that didn't work. So I have enabled the mouse. So what you would do is if you come in here and your touch controllers don't work, you're going to have to use the VR mouse and get into the cockpit before you can get back to here, because in that situation, when you first start up with a new headset, sometimes at this place here, X-Plane really doesn't think you're in VR. You're clearly in VR, but it does not think so. So I'm going to use my mouse, and the mouse cursor is And just so people understand, I am using right now, this is 1150B3, the third beta. This beta has a problem with this mouse. And I can actually show that right here. So if I go over to graphics, you notice that I have this on medium. If I put this up here on HDR, this mouse will act completely differently than it did in 1141R1. It acts completely differently. I'm in conversation with Ben from X-Plane, and hopefully we can get this resolved before the next beta gets released. He couldn't figure out what was wrong, so I got an email from him, and I hopefully got him straightened out, and it's partly why I'm doing this video. I will come back to this, but for right now, I'm going to go back to, basically, I'm just going to say I'm done, and I'm in the cockpit. So if you watch the mouse right now, you watch it, it stays in the bounds. So if I pull it down, it moves forward. You can see that when I come down like this, as I move my mouse further closer to me, it basically comes out past the windscreen here, and then it goes right to the instrument. So if I roll it along the instruments, you can clearly see that it stays right there. Now, so if you hadn't got your if your touch controllers weren't working, the buttons weren't working, so you would basically have to get into this cockpit, and then like right now, you would go ahead and you would click. I did a right click, and so basically we got to get back where we were. Due to the fact that I am now in the cockpit, X-Plane now thinks I'm in VR. So if I click on flight and come up here to flight configuration, now I'm back in the holodeck again. And if I left click on the mouse, it basically will reposition the this whiteboard. So, and it acts. The mouse is a little odd. So if I come over here and then back to here, then normally, if you were having problems, you may have to hit this button here, reset default default. So basically, what it's going to do is it's going to look at a text file that basically describes how the touch controller should act. So that text file is here. So this is the file for my Valve Index controllers. So basically in here, it basically is looking for this ID. When X-Plane starts up, it looks for this. If it finds this ID, then it's going to basically display that information right there. That's where it comes from. It says display, and it's going to display that information right there. And then the rest of this is basically describing the access. So access 0, you see it says joystick use VR touchpad X. So that is VR touchpad X. And then it does a little more configuration. Axis 1 is axis 1. See, that's a Y. Axis 2 is the trigger, and then the buttons are over here. So the buttons are right here. So the first button is none. The button 1 is reserved for reserve menu. Button 3. So button 1, button 3. There should be a button 2 here too. Let me see if I can. I'm not sure. 0, 1, 3. Reserve, trigger, select. Oh, okay. So in here, they start with 0, but here it starts with 1. So that's a little confusing, but so button 4 is actually button 0, and so that's basically where Xplane gets the information to basically fill in all this information here. So we have that, and so right now it says that that basically they're uncalibrated. So so to calibrate it, so I would just like on a joystick. So you click on the calibrate button, and I got to figure out which one I got here. Okay, it's this one. So normally I put the joystick up in the air so that it doesn't teleport me all over the place. So you just move the joystick back and the thumbstick back and forth. Click on the trigger button. Click on ignore access. Click on next. Next. Let it do its thing. And then click on finish. And then if I click on the next one, this one went to sleep. So it may not work too well. Oh, there it goes. So I have to do the same thing here. And you ignore this access. Click on next. Next. And finish. So at this point in time, we have so the joysticks, the touch controllers are all basically configured, and the only thing left is that this button here, this one that says button 0, do nothing. That button is a free button, so you can basically have that do pretty much whatever you would like it to do. So let me think. So I'm going to. So I basically showed where, because when Xplane starts up, it reads this file. So the file is in resources, joystick configurations, valve index, and this is the Windows one. And you can see where it says OS Windows. So this is only for Windows. I have another one that's for Linux that's done just a little bit differently. But basically, when Xplane starts in VR, it reads this file just like it would read a joystick file for the configuration of the joystick. And so it reads this information and populates the joystick dialog box. So the other thing is, the other thing it does is it creates another file, and that file is it's in a different place, and I'm trying to figure out the right way to get about that. And since we're all up, I'm going to go done, and I'm going to go over and get in the cockpit. And the other thing I was going to do is let me jump back. So right now, you can basically see how this VR mouse is working. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna change the setting of this. I'm gonna go up to flight configuration and go down here. Come on. I'm going to go over to graphics. And you can see there's like an artifact here too that I don't remember seeing before. So if I go to graphics and now I change it to, I'm going to go ahead and grab it. And I'm going to take it up to too high or HDR. Now I'm going to click here and go done. Takes a little while to get back into the cockpit. I think it'll give me a resume over here, if I remember right. Yep, resume flight. So, I'm going to go back over in the cockpit. So, trying to find the mouse. There it is. Okay. So, if you look at the mouse, you can see that it goes, when I move my headset back and forth, when I like get closer to it and further away, the mouse moves. So if I click right now, without, at the previous setting, if I clicked on this menu, the mouse would be on top of it. It is not. If I move my headset closer to it, it moves the mouse. Unless this has been designed this way, that doesn't seem right to me. So basically, all I did is change the graphics setting to HDR, and it broke it. So I'm going to click on, try my best to get to flight configuration, and get back over here because the way it is really difficult to try to maneuver. So I'm going to grab it, put it back to medium, click on done, wait a little while. Click on resume flight. Now, find the mouse. Where are you? So as you can see, like if I have the mouse right there. If I right click, the mouse shows up in front of the menu every time. Not sometimes, every time. So I have it here. That VR mouse is in front of this. I can't, when I move my headset back and forth, there is no way it moves. It does not move. And this is the behavior that it was at 1141 R1. Something got changed, and also this is Vulkan. OpenGL in 1150 B3 doesn't have this issue. Only the HDR, so the high and the maximum, both have this issue. So this works exactly as it should. So if I right click, it goes away. Right click again, it shows up, but the pointer is up in front of it. So now that I have the touch controllers basically configured, I'm going to go back over into the I use a touch controller, and I'm going to go back. Actually, I can actually do that right here. I'm going to take my headset off for just a split second to get another file opened up, and I will be right back. Alrighty, back. I need to gotta bring so I'm gonna bring another. I'm gonna spawn a new window. Woo! I'm gonna switch. And we'll go joystick settings. And might be okay. Alrighty. So I'm gonna close this out. So when X-Plane starts up and it populates the joystick settings, it also does something else. It basically populates this this file here that's X-Plane joystick settings, and that resides in output preferences. Yeah, that's where it resides. And so if you look, so this is the joy file. Now, if you look, you see where it says unique ID, VR Valve Lighthouse. That's exactly the same. That's exactly the same as this. So this is like a unique identifier for it, and there's two of them because I have two touch controllers, so there's two of them. And then basically it gives a location, so where they where X-Plane went to find them, I guess would be the right term. So so those are kind of like at the beginning of this file. Now, let's go back. Let's go back here. So let me go here. So that, I mean, I'm trying to get this all kind of in like one place. So, and my goal here is to try to make this, all these files are like scattered around. They're all relevant, and basically the end result is they end up here in settings. So if I look, so you see these here. These have to be someplace. So if I hopefully I can stroll this up. Yeah, okay, good. I wasn't sure. I gotta stroll up a ways here to get to where I need to be. And this is just, and for every joystick, that this information is for every joystick. So let's see if I can. Not easy. So what I'm looking for is in use or something like that. Yeah, it'll just take me a little bit here to get here. Sorry. Doing it in VR is a little more of a challenge, but I really wanted to do it in VR because it's relevant. It's relevant. There's center. Nope. No. I believe the term is joy in use. It's what I believe. Axis delta. Nope. I think it's axis in use. Okay. So, let me hopefully get this close enough to my hopefully close enough that you can actually see it. I'm trying to yeah, okay. All right. So so basically here you see joy axis use. You see a 49, a 50, and a 51. Get me realigned here. The 49, the 50, and the 51 are this here. VR touchpad X, VR touchpad Y, and VR trigger. 49, 50, 51. I'm not sure if they are in that order. I can tell. Yes. Access 0 is the Y. Access 1. Access 0 is the X. Access 1 is the Y. And access 2, which is 51 here, is the trigger. When I first started playing around with VR, some of this wasn't quite working right. Took me a little bit of time to kind of figure out what these numbers are and what they all mean. Then I tried to use VR in Linux, and none of it worked. So I had figured out on Windows how it worked. And then I said, okay, well, if I just shove the numbers in here, just edit this file, shove the numbers in here, it should work. And it did. and as you see, this started out at use 0. So if I remember right, if you look down here, you see 25 down. So there is 25 variables that are related to the first joystick. If you look down here, you see at use 25, see if I can get this to scroll up. Okay. So at use 25, that's the next set. So that is the second joystick or touch controller. And it's exactly the same. So it's 49, 50, 51. So that basically is where this information here, that's where that comes from. That number, that's 49, 50, 51, matches to this description here. So if we go down here further in here, see if I can. So it's every 25. So further down in here is where the buttons are. Okay, so here we go. So it says joy button use. If you look, you see sim. It says here sim none. Sim VR reserved menu. That's the menu button. Sim VR reserved touchpad. Thumbstack / touchpad. SimVR reserved select. Reserved VR select. So that's where that stuff comes from. These are 160 apart. So if you look, so if I go up 160. So at 160, none is the top one. It's do nothing. Reserve menu, touchpad, reserve select, the trigger button that selects things. So that's basically in how X-Plane basically takes and configures the touch controllers so that they work. So kind of part of what I'm trying to accomplish here is, because on the org you have people that are like, well, my touch controllers, I can see them, but I can't. The buttons don't work. Well, then you need to look here and see if this is true. Are the buttons shown up here? And if they are, and you can see them here, then file a bug report and say what's wrong? Because on Linux, because I'm trying to get VR to work on Linux. On Linux, it's hit and miss. There are some times where the touch controllers will work fine. And there's other times where all of this information is filled out. This is filled out. And they don't work. But that should not happen. If, so I'm, I have enough knowledge with Windows that I know how it's supposed to work. So I'm in the process just getting enough information to try to resolve that, because VR in Linux is a really new thing. There's a few of us that have been working with it and trying to improve it. I want it to be as seamless as Windows is, and I'm closer, but I haven't quite made it here yet. So I'm trying to think. I think I'm pretty good. I think I kind of accomplished what I wanted to. I didn't. I think that's kind of, and it's good to kind of like bring all this information in this one place, because it's where it all results. That's where it shows up at. So, and that's the result of it. So, yeah. So that kind of, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, yes, I do have one other thing I want to show, and I need to get back in the cockpit. So we will, if I can get rid of these windows, so I can. I'm done here. Resume flight. So I'm back in the cockpit, and I'm going to put this stuff kind of out of the way, because it kind of gets in the way. The way these are overlays, and the way they work, they kind of if I put them in front of like this the cockpit, it tends to make other things transparent. So I'm trying to line myself up a little bit here. Trying to line myself up in the real world here, like I would be in the real airplane. Hello. Gotta get my chat window here, so I can actually see what's going on. Okay, so I am in basically the default of let me bounce out of this airplane here. So I'm outside of the airplane, and I'm gonna come along, and then if you can see, they got these hotspots. You can see these windows here. These are basically where the defaults are. So if I'm looking like straight ahead, I'm trying to, and I let go here, I should end up in the cockpit. Pretty close. All right. One thing that I notice, if I look to my left, I can't see the bottom of the wing. When I fly 172, I adjust my seat so I can see the bottom of the wing. And also, if I look out here, the cowling is there. I'm seeing too much of my cowling, so I should be setting lower in the seat. The other thing is that I'm too far away from the instruments here. I'm way far away, and so how does that matter? Well, it matters because the further you are away, the more difficult it is to actually see them. So, and also in real life, so if I pull this back, basically that yoke should be pretty close to my belly. When it's all the way back, that's where it should be. And I'm a long ways from that. I am 4 or 5, at least 4 inches, maybe more, away from my belly. And so that isn't the right, for me, that's not the right place. Luckily, we have a solution for that. So J.R. Cook wrote this plugin. Slickest thing I've ever. This is my go-to for NVR. So the plugin is called VR Tools. And let me back up a little bit. So it's in my plugins. That's the only plugin I have installed right now. So I go ahead and I go over here, and I have some options. So I go to Hotspots, Hotspot Editor. Open it up. So you can see the default Cessna. It comes with these hotspots, and as you've seen outside, when I would put my teleporter, those all showed up. So I need to fix this. So I'm going to select the pilot seat because that's where I am, and then I'm going to adjust. I'll adjust in first. So I use these buttons here. So that basically is bringing the instrument panel closer to me. And it'll take me a little bit to get this set right. So this one over here is going to adjust the height. So that was the wrong way. So I'm going to go this way. And I'm basically putting... I want to go a little bit more. So I want, thinking a bit more. So I want to be able to see underneath the wing. If I look like this, when I'm coming in for a landing, when I'm doing pattern work, I want to be able to see out. Not all. The only thing I see is the. It's almost like I'm looking into the wing. That I'm like too low in this window, too high in this window. So, and I may bring this, I may come with this a little bit closer. So, what that has done is it has moved me closer to the instruments, and the instruments are more in my view. So, that is for VR. That is just it helps the readability tremendously, no matter what headset you're on. Because like I said, I wanted to show what the default was, and whether it is how my VR equipment is set up, how I have my lighthouses calibrated, I don't know. All I know is I'm now in a position where I'm comfortable, and everything is seriously readable. So now that I've done all that, then there's a thing that's called relog. So basically, I didn't pay a lot of attention to this, but the numbers up here at the top were changing. As I was moving myself in position, they were changing. So I'm going to click on relog. So basically, relog updates the information that's being stored in this program. And then I'm going to click on update. And then I'm going to click on commit. Always make sure that when you do this, that you are where you are. So in other words, don't do this if you're in the back right seat. You know, if you're in the pilot seat, make sure the pilot seat is selected. If you're in the co-pilot seat, make sure the co-pilot is selected. So I did that, did relog, and now I'm going to commit to it. And we're going to leave for just a little bit. And for some reason, when airplanes reload, I don't know why they do this, whether you have the tick box that says start with engines running or not, they will start running. I have no idea why that's true. It seems odd to me, but it is what it is. So now I'm gonna jump out of the airplane, and I want to show you kind of what's different. So if I go over here, and you see that there, that's really big. The new one is much smaller. So I'm going to hold it like that, look straight ahead. And evidently I was looking across. So I'm gonna, so you can see this one here. The co-pilot one is a lot taller. This one over here is way shorter, and you can see where it is. So you can see the difference. That one there is down on the floor. This one here is in the seat. So if I look straight ahead while I'm doing that, let go, then I'm lined up. So I basically that was one of the tools that I wanted to show, and just to prove that that it works. It works just fine in 11.50 V3. There are some programs that don't work. Most of the programs that don't work are things that were either programs or scripts. As the head of development of Fly with Lua, I've been getting bombarded with, hey, Flywood Lua doesn't work. Well, yeah, it does. Some of the strips don't work because you didn't read and pay attention to what Ben's been saying is that the art controls that you use to change fog, change level of detail, all of that stuff, we may change them. And if you change them, Flywood Lua looks at a data ref and says, hey, don't exist. It's not going to run. So it basically shoves it over into quarantine. And so I've been getting those kind of questions, you know, and been trying to work through them as best I can. But Flywood Lua itself works just fine. I mean, I've been using it with I was using it with B1 to do I use the landing rate script, and it works just fine. I don't have any art controls at all in the normal. This is this particular install that I have is stripped. I mean, it has one plugin in it, and it is VR Tools. And but because I wanted to do it really, really clean and without a lot of add-on stuff, so I think we're doing not too bad. And my my controllers are getting kind of sick, or yeah. Wow. Frames are a little low. I'm kind of wondering why that's true. That's interesting. But it's seriously overcast. Oh, yeah, I know why. Let me see what big a difference it makes. I have the mouse on. I'm gonna go turn it off, and I'm gonna see what a difference that guy makes. So it's a good test. So let's go over here. VR hardware. Let me turn the mouse off. Come on, you can do it. Resume flight. Yes. That's a huge difference. So I wonder, I can't do that quite yet. There's a tool that they added that allows you to well, I can actually show that, but I have to play around a little bit here. So if I go to plugins, and here it says show plugin administration. So if I click on it, nothing happens. So it doesn't happen because it's in 2D. So I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way. Let's see if I can just get, oh, there we go. Okay. So because it is in 2D, this is where it is. And so if I go over under performance, yeah, the mouse won't show it that way, but so what come on. So right now there's like no plugins that are, you know, basically what happens is that if you use a plugin, it'll show up here as what the cost of your plugin is. And so but in this case there isn't any that are really active. So out of curiosity, we'll see what the hotspot cost. I've never done it with this one before. Whoops. Hotspot editor. So what's the cost? Okay. Well, the cost isn't too bad. If you look, so it basically says, if I go over here on overview, hello. So basically the cost of this editor being open right now is basically around, we'll say it's 2. So 2 frames per second is what the cost is. And so this is like just a great tool. And I put in a request that I fly in VR. I spend my time in VR. And if you look at the type of window it is, so when you look at these windows, so that's a close button. This little double box is there. What does that mean? Well, let me click on it. So what does that mean? It pops out. Any window that pops out, come on, I slide you. You gonna slide with me? Nah. Because of the configuration I'm in VR, some of that stuff may not work. The point is that any window that can pop out can be put in VR. Any window. It's just part of the features of the new X-Plane 11 window API. It's just part of those features. So I put in a request to go ahead and have. Basically, my request is if any of these tools that are provided and available in 2D, if any of them can be popped out, when I request for them, and like I did here, I requested for it, and I'm in VR. So if I request for it in VR, can it show up in VR? I understand when it shows up, it's going to show up because it's from a menu. It's going to show up attached to my controller. That's where it's going to be. When it just like that is attached to my controller. And the same way as if I open up. Let me close, so I don't get this guy too confused. So when I am in the menus and I come down here to plugins and I say hotspot editor, when I click the trigger, it's attached. It is attached to my controller. The same thing with any of the tools that Laminar has provided. They should show up exactly the same way, and so if I hit the trigger again, it'll stay. So it just stays in place. Put it wherever you want it. Put it up above. Put it wherever you want. So the great thing about VR cockpits is you never run out of room. There's lots of room in a VR cockpit to put all kinds of things, and so that's kind of my request is we can have that, especially for the VR developers. It would be so handy to be able to look at those that kind of information would be great. So yeah, I think I'm doing good. I'm gonna have to probably get out of here because my controllers are pretty close to the bottom. And like I said, normally when it's a reasonably clear day, today is not, overcast, clouds are low, I normally can get like 60 frames in VR. Today is not one of those days, and also it's been I don't quite see it in the I'm running real weather, but I've been here and listening, and it's been like raining off and on. It was just a lousy day. Been lousy days for too long here in Erie, and so I just decided let me pass some of my because I've been using VR for probably 2.5 years now, and so I went through 3 different headsets. None of them broke. I just was looking for something better, and basically the Valve Index was for me being able to use it in Windows and Linux. It's the right headset for me. So it's kind of where I am right now, and been quite happy with how it all went. I'm gonna make sure I covered everything I wanted to. Ooh, there goes an airplane. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I had the AI turned on with like 3 airplanes, so that was kind of cool. But I think I've covered everything I wanted to, and I thought doing it, I could have done like a YouTube video, but I just decided to stream it, and because I enjoy the kind of enjoy streaming. Yeah, and you know, it's a lot of to me it's a lot of fun. More fun when I can fly, but hey, it is what it is. I am a pretty strong believer in flying in real weather, and and basically my stream is related to recreating my my experience in ooh, I see my controller went to sleep. Recreating my experience when I learned how to fly right here in Erie. And so just like when I would be flying for real, if the weather's too bad, I'm not gonna fly. I mean, so I approach it pretty much the same. But I've also kind of decided that on those kind of days, I'm going to try to pass on knowledge I have about whether it's VR or plugins that I have created. Give like a stream of just that kind of information. So, and so far how it turned out today, yeah, I think it's I got the information passed I wanted to, and I think we'll call it a day. So gotta figure out how to get this stream to stop. Does anybody in chat have any questions, or we all good? Okay, and we'll call it a day. Trying to see how long I was at this. Almost an hour. Not too bad. So click on stop streaming. Hello.